Most people think growing food means constant work digging, replanting, fixing problems every season. But that's only true if you're growing the wrong plants. Hidden in old gardens and forgotten by modern agriculture. There's a group of plants that practically take care of themselves. They grow back every year, thrive in poor soil, ignore most pests, and in some cases, actually produce more food over time with less effort. No replanting, no constant maintenance. Just plant once and keep harvesting. In this video, I'm going to show you 10 of these forgotten vegetables. And trust me, you'll want to stay until number 7. It doesn't just grow easily, it produces some of the most neobichno colorful, almost jewel-like harvests you'll ever see, and the flavor changes depending on how you treat it. Let's start with one of the most underrated plants of all time. 1. Good King Henry. Good King Henry is one of those nearly forgotten vegetables that quietly outperforms many modern crops. Once a staple in medieval European gardens, it gradually fell out of favor as spinach became more commercial. But for a low-maintenance garden, it still holds a strong advantage. What makes it stand out is its perennial nature. Instead of replanting every season, you establish it once and harvest for years. In early spring, the young shoots can be picked and cooked like asparagus. As the season progresses, the leaves take over as a spinach substitute, mild, nutritious, and reliable. It's often described as weed-like, not because it's invasive, but because of how resilient and self-sufficient it becomes over time. Once established, it tolerates poor soil, partial shade, and periods of drought better than most leafy greens. It also tends to self-seed gently, giving you new plants without effort. Good King Henry thrives best in USDA zones 3 to 9, especially in cooler climates. It actually prefers mild temperatures and performs well in areas where other greens struggle, particularly shaded corners of the garden. If you're looking for a dependable, plant once leafy green that quietly keeps producing, this is a strong candidate. 2. Sea kale. Sea kale is one of those rare plants that combines elegance with extreme resilience. Once considered a delicacy in Victorian-era dining, it's now largely forgotten. Yet it may be one of the most practical long-term crops you can grow. Unlike annual vegetables, sea kale is a true perennial investment. Once established, it can continue producing for well over a decade, often closer to 20 years, with very little intervention. In early spring, its blanched shoots are highly valued for their tender texture and refined flavor, often compared to a mix of asparagus and mild broccoli. What makes sea kale particularly reliable is its natural adaptation to harsh environments. In the wild, it grows along exposed coastlines, tolerating strong winds, sandy soil, and salt exposure. In a home garden, this translates to a plant that handles poor soil and drought conditions with ease. Its deep root system allows it to access moisture and nutrients that many vegetables cannot reach. Sea kale performs best in USDA zones 4 to 8 and prefers a sunny location. Once settled, it requires minimal care and gradually becomes more productive over time, making it a stable, long-term addition to a low-maintenance garden. If this plant could quietly feed you for years, would you give it a chance? Or let it pass you by? Comment. Try it or pass, and let's follow your gardening journey together from here. 3. Skirret. Skirret is a nearly forgotten root vegetable with a long history, once favored in Roman and medieval European kitchens. Today, it stands out not just for its flavor, but for how well it fits into a low-maintenance, perennial garden. instead of producing a single root like carrots. Skirret forms clusters of slender white roots, which can be harvested selectively. This allows for a more flexible approach. You can dig up part of the plant for a meal and leave the rest to continue growing. Over time, the clump expands, gradually increasing your yield without the need for replanting. Flavor is another advantage. Skirret has a naturally sweet, slightly nutty taste, often compared to a blend of carrot and parsnip with a mild, peppery note. It works well roasted, boiled, or added to soups. In terms of growing conditions, Skirret is notably adaptable. It tolerates heavier, moisture-retentive soils better than most root crops and can handle partial shade. It thrives in USDA zones 5 to 9 and is relatively cold-hardy, making it suitable for a wide range of temperate climates. For gardeners dealing with damp soil or inconsistent conditions, Skirret offers a practical and reliable alternative to more demanding root vegetables. 4. Crosnes. Crosnes, also known as Chinese artichokes, are one of the most unusual-looking vegetables you can grow. Their small, ivory-colored tubers resemble tiny spiraled shells, which makes them stand out immediately both in the garden and on the plate. Despite their gourmet reputation, Crosnes are surprisingly easy to grow. They belong to the mint family, which explains their vigorous underground spreading habit. Once planted, they gradually form a dense patch of edible tubers, returning year after year without the need for replanting. This growth pattern also helps suppress weeds, as the plant creates a natural ground cover over time. In the kitchen, Crosnes are valued for their crisp texture and mild, nutty flavor. Often compared to water chestnuts, they can be eaten raw, lightly sautéed, or pickled, making them a versatile addition to meals. Crosnes grow well in USDA zones 5 to 9 and prefer loose, well-drained soil for easier harvesting. They perform best in full sun, but can tolerate partial shade, while they are low maintenance. It's worth noting that their spreading nature means they're best planted in a contained area if you want to manage their growth. Planting once and harvesting forever isn't that every gardener's dream. Hit that subscribe button today, and let's build a sustainable garden together, filled with amazing plants just like this one. 5. Jerusalem artichoke. Jerusalem artichoke, more commonly called sunchoke, is one of the most productive and resilient crops you can introduce into a garden. Despite its name, it's neither from Jerusalem nor related to artichokes. It's actually a type of sunflower grown for its edible underground tubers. What sets sunchokes apart is their exceptional productivity with minimal input. Once planted, they return every year from leftover tubers in the soil, often increasing in yield over time. This makes them a reliable long-term food source without the need for annual replanting. Above ground, the plant can grow quite tall, often reaching 2 to 3 meters, forming a dense wall of stems and yellow flowers. This not only adds visual interest, but can also function as a natural screen or windbreak in the garden. Sunchokes are highly adaptable. They tolerate a wide range of soil types, including poorer soils, and are relatively unaffected by common pests. They grow well across USDA zones 3 to 9 and handle both cold winters and warm summers effectively. One consideration is their vigor. Because they spread easily, it's best to plant them in a dedicated area where they can be managed. With that in mind, they offer a dependable, low-maintenance source of nutritious tubers year after year. The first 5 were great, but if you're a busy gardener, these next 5 are your best friends. They're practically self-sustaining and will feed your family year-round with almost zero effort. Let's see who these low-maintenance champions are. 6. Lovage. Lovage is a perennial herb that offers a practical alternative to traditional celery, especially for gardeners looking for something more resilient and less demanding. While it shares a similar flavor profile, Lovage is noticeably stronger both in taste and growth habit. Once established, a single plant can grow tall and robust, often reaching 1.5 to 2 meters in height. It returns reliably each year and tends to emerge early in the season, providing fresh greens when many other plants are still dormant. This makes it a consistent and early source of flavor for the kitchen. One of Lovage's key advantages is its adaptability. It tolerates a range of soil conditions and is generally less affected by pests compared to more delicate herbs and vegetables. It grows well in USDA zones 3 to 9 and can handle both full sun and partial shade, though it prefers a bit of moisture to stay at its best. Every part of the plant is usable. The leaves work as a stronger substitute for celery or parsley. The hollow stems can be used similarly to celery stalks, and the seeds have a concentrated, aromatic quality. 7. Oca. This is the one we hinted at earlier, and it's where things get interesting when you harvest this plant. It doesn't look like a typical crop at all. Instead of plain, dusty potatoes, you're pulling out clusters of smooth, brightly colored tubers, reds, yellows, even glowing orange, almost like something you'd expect from a specialty market. Not your backyard. But the real surprise isn't how it looks. It's how effortless it feels once it gets going. While most tuber crops demand decent soil and constant attention, this one quietly adapts. It keeps growing late into the season, long after other plants have slowed down. It handles less than ideal conditions better than you'd expect. And in many cases, it produces a generous harvest without needing much intervention. Then there's the part most people don't realize: you rarely have to fully replant it. Small tubers left in the soil naturally regrow, creating a cycle where each season builds on the last. And the flavor, fresh. It has a slight tang, almost citrus-like, but after a short time in sunlight, it transforms, becoming noticeably sweeter and more complex. It grows best in USDA zones 7 to 9, especially where the season runs long. If you want one plant that feels both unusual and surprisingly productive, this is it. 8. Yacon. Yacon is a perfect testament to nature's generosity, offering a juicy fruit right beneath the soil, unlike typical starchy tubers. Yacon surprises with its crisp texture and syrup-like sweetness, packed with nutrients yet very low in calories. It is the ultimate solution for those wanting a sustainable garden where plants protect themselves and provide clean food without any chemical intervention. The true power of Yacon lies in its incredible self-operating capability. With its towering and expansive foliage, it becomes a powerful photosynthetic machine, naturally shading the soil and suppressing weed growth. No matter how harsh the winter, its crown buds remain resiliently dormant, waiting for the perfect moment to explode back into life in spring. Thriving best in USDA zones 7 through 11, Yacon is more than just a crop. It is a living energy storage system, allowing you to harvest dozens of pounds of sweet food from a single plant without ever needing to replant. Delicious, clean, and incredibly low in calories, Yacon is a dream for every health-conscious gardener. Hit the like button if you'd love to have this sustainable food machine in your own backyard. 9. Alexander's. Alexander's is more than just a vegetable. It is a historical witness that followed Roman soldiers across Europe, thanks to its unconquerable vitality. This plant carries a bold, multifaceted aroma, where a subtle peppery spice blends seamlessly with the crispness of wild celery. What makes Alexander's uniquely valuable is its counterintuitive growth cycle. It awakens and turns lush in the dead of winter, providing fresh food exactly when most other gardens are bare. The presence of Alexander's is a testament to a perfectly self-sustaining ecosystem where human intervention is rarely needed. With incredible adaptability across USDA zones 5 through 9, it defies salty coastal winds and the driest, shadiest corners of your yard. The plant generously self-seeds, creating a permanent landscape that is virtually immune to pests. By growing Alexander's, you aren't just securing a perennial food source, you are hosting a piece of wild, proud nature right in your own backyard. 10. Scorzonera. While most vegetables opt for vibrant displays, Scorzonera chooses silence with its rugged, wood-like black skin, perfectly concealing a creamy, powerful white core. This plant completely eliminates the stress of harvest timing, as it feels no pressure to be picked on schedule. You can leave them in the soil for 2 or even 3 years. The longer they remain, the stronger the roots grow and the richer their buttery, gourmet flavor becomes. This resilience transforms Scorzonera into the most reliable and vivid living food pantry for any household. Scorzonera's adaptability is masterful, viewing dry soils or deep freezes merely as conditions to temper its endurance. Thriving exceptionally in USDA zones 5 through 9, it remains untouched by common pests thanks to its unique root structure. During summer, the plant gifts you with fragrant yellow blossoms that beautify your space while attracting beneficial insects. Scorzonera is the embodiment of steadfastness, allowing you to possess a premium food source without the need for annual tilling or reseeding. Gardening doesn't have to mean constant digging, replanting, and fighting off problems every season, as you've seen. Some of the most reliable and productive crops are the ones that have quietly fallen out of the spotlight. These forgotten vegetables offer a different approach, one where you work with nature instead of constantly trying to control it. By choosing perennial, resilient plants like these, you're not just growing food, you're building a system that improves over time. Year after year, they return stronger, requiring less effort while giving back more in return. It's a slower, more sustainable way to garden, but also a much smarter one. Of course, not every plant will suit every space. Some spread more aggressively, others prefer specific conditions. But with a bit of planning, you can create a garden that largely takes care of itself while still producing a steady supply of fresh, nutritious food. If even one of these plants caught your attention, it might be worth giving it a try. And if you're interested in discovering more low-maintenance crops like these, let me know. There are still plenty of hidden gems worth exploring.